All right, joining us live in the studio now is Professor Raphael Munavu. He's chair of the Presidential Working Party on Education Reform. Prof, good to see you. Welcome to Sunday Live.
Thank you very much.
I guess the first question is, Prof,
yes.
Is it too early to say that CBC is working?
Well, I can tell you that we have implemented, sorry, not we, but our government, our country has implemented CBC for the last 6 years. So we are moving forward. Generally, with the recommendations of UNESCO is that when you have a syllabus, when you have a curricula, you then have to assess it, evaluate it, and see how far you have done after 5 years. So basically, one of the things that we should be doing now is just ask ourselves, how has CBC performed for the last 5-6 years as we move forward?
So this is a chance to evaluate the last couple of years, but also the public participation that starts tomorrow is giving Kenyans a chance to give suggestions in terms of reforms. What else can we expect from this exercise?
Yeah, we are, by the way, the Presidential Working Party on Education Reforms was appointed 29th of September, and it has been working very hard, and already it has gone to the media, to the press, I think 2 weeks ago, and we have been requesting for input and for comments and for memoranda from stakeholders, from organizations, from associations and so on, so that we can move forward. And by the way, although we are talking about CBC, please keep in mind that the Working Party is also supposed to look at the whole education sector, including TVET and including universities. Yeah.
So, Prof, and you're going to visit all 47 counties?
Oh, yes. We are serious. This is very important. Education is the driver of socioeconomic development. And we want to restructure education in such a way that Kenya, within the next 15-20 years, will be transformed socioeconomically. So we have divided ourselves into 10 teams. And each team will be visiting between 4 to 5 counties. People have already, the teams have already moved to their counties, the first county that they are visiting. They are going to be spending 2.5 days in each of the counties. And I can tell you, we are going to visit all the counties because we must listen and get views on what do Kenyans feel and what do they say. Not about CBC only, of course, it's a hot one, but also about TVET and about university education.
Let's talk about university education. The former education CS, Professor George Magoha, called it the sick child in the room. So when you think about some of the issues when it comes to governance, when it comes to financial management, you've been in academia for over 30 years now, Prof.
Yeah.
You've seen a lot.
Of course.
So what do you make of the financial issues that universities, public universities, are going through now?
Well, they are going through a very difficult period, difficult times. But remember, the university is us. Let's not just say the university out there. Who is responsible to ensure that the university is fully funded? It is all Kenyans. Because we are training future workers. We are training people who are going to drive this country forward in universities. And therefore, it is time, it is appropriate, and it's timely for us to begin to revisit how should universities be funded? What should universities do to mobilize resources? How is it that we should not have some strategic disciplines that all of us must support? Are there some disciplines that the university feels that they need to be funded no matter what? Whether it's agriculture, whether it is teachers, whether it is doctors, so that even if the capitation is high, we say, let us implement I think that the terminology was differentiated unit cost, which means that for each student, for example, taking medicine, and another one engineering, and another one art and so on, the capitation should be different. The allocation per student should depend on the discipline that they are taking. So those are some of the things that I think the universities need to begin to think about.
Yeah.
But they should also begin to think of how can they mobilize resources themselves.
Yeah.
And Prof, after your teams tour the 47 counties, how soon do we expect a report?
I can tell you that we are going to finish the visitations on a 12th of, you can write it down, 12th of November. By 18th of November, we are going to have received all the feedbacks and the memoranda from stakeholders.
Yeah.
So by the end of November, early December, we should have an interim report. We are required. This is a working force that is, it's a working force, so we are working. So we should be able to give an interim report to His Excellency the first week, second week of December. Yeah.
Well, Prof, you talked about how universities are there to essentially prepare people for the workplace. Many times you hear, though, that from the industry, many of the candidates coming out of campus are half-baked. There's a lot of theory happening and very little practical happening. What do you make of such utterances when it comes to university students?
Some students, some statements may have some basis.
Yeah.
Maybe we are not training our students well. But let me tell you, before universities come up with some syllabus, some new programs, they are required to have input from the private sector, the beneficiaries. And therefore, sometimes I think the private sector also needs to realize that they have a responsibility to also have a say on what is being offered in a particular program. They should also realize, the private sector also, eventually they are beneficiaries. They benefit from the knowledge that we are generating from research, patents, and so forth. And therefore, they should also commit to also fund research of universities. Obviously, there needs to be an engagement. There needs to be some nice articulation between the universities and the private sector.
Right.
But we must work jointly to move forward.
No, absolutely. And there's also the issue of TVETs. So they do more vocational training.
Yeah.
When you think about occupation like plumbing, abroad it could be a noble occupation. Here in Kenya, not so much. So what do you make of those opportunities that do exist, but young people do not gravitate to?
I think there is something we are calling value-based education. Education with values. Yeah. Community serviced learning. Learning so that the community will benefit from your skills and your competencies. I think it is time that we must focus on TVET institutions, but focus on them to the extent that we say, if you go for TVET, you get a certificate. If you do well, then you can cascade and move up and even join a university.
Yeah. Bottom line, Prof.
Yes, bottom line.
What do you tell parents out there who, and I know you've heard these stories endlessly, children coming home and saying, you know, we have to dress as chefs tomorrow, or we have to, we have to.
The practical side of, of the CBC learning.
What do you tell parents at this time?
I think parents have a major role. Parents play a major role in raising children. They are the principal ones. So the key tenets of CBC, of community engagement, of parent engagement in teaching, and so on, value-based, morals, and so on, those cannot be conveyed just by teachers. And I'm telling you from the truth. Parents have a role, but we must clearly understand and define the role. It should not be too costly for the parents. Maybe I shouldn't be saying this because I'm just listening from what the public is saying. But yes, I think sometimes there are things that we must re-engineer and ask ourselves, should parents play this role or that role? And I think if we can have a way of engaging the parents also, and for the parents now you have an opportunity, because we are going to visit all the counties. Please come on board and tell us what is your view.
Okay.
Yeah. when did the rain begin to beat us and beat you as parents?
Yeah.
And what do you propose? Don't just tell us we are having this problem, but tell us, how do we do it? How do you sort it out?
By the way, there are many countries in the world doing CBC on the 2633.
Of course.
Many countries.
Yeah. How did you know? But there are very many. There are very many countries that are doing it. You Googled it, eh?
You are actually the source.
You're the source.
Thank you so much, Professor Munavu. Of course, all the best as you embark on this.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And we hope we will continue to be engaging with you. This is very important. And I really want to ask the Kenyan public, please, whichever stakeholder you are, even if you are a Juakali, please come on board and give us your views and give us suggestions on the way forward.
Absolutely.
Okay, asante sana.
Asante sana, Professor Raphael Munavu, the chair of the Presidential Working Party on Education Reform. We're going to take